2024 and you're thinking, can I truly still make money as a travel nurse? And the answer is yes, you can still get to the bag as a travel nurse. Welcome guys, welcome back to the channel, or welcome to the channel if it is your first time here. As you can tell by the title, we're going to be talking about travel nursing, and not going to do too much of the rah-rah. I got my notes here, so I'm ready to give y'all the tea. Now, I know when you think of travel nursing, you only think of one specific avenue, which is the traditional travel nurse, where you're going from one destination to another. But it's 2024 and you're thinking, can I truly still make money as a travel nurse? And the answer is yes, you can still get to the bag as a travel nurse, and you don't even have to go to different states to do it. You can stay within your own city, in your own state, and still get to the bag because it's out there. You just have to know where to go find those opportunities. And 2024, a lot more nurses are doing travel nursing, so that makes the supply higher, but the demand for actual nurses is less, believe it or not, because everybody has left their staff job and they're now flooding the travel nurse market. So the opportunities that are there are not as great as it was, or it's not paying as well as it was 2-3 years ago, and it's a lot of us fighting for those jobs. So you have to be the top of the top. They're looking at certifications, they're looking at years of experience, they're looking at the type of hospitals that you came from. So believe it or not, you are fighting for a position out there. So anyways, that was just a little bit of a rant of a backstory of why you may be seeing lower rates, especially in those places where predominantly you have been seeing higher rates, like California, New York, New Jersey, Massachusetts. Like, rates in those places right now, to me, and based on the market value for the past couple years, is literally at an all-time low. Like, I have friends working in California right now and they're like, this is not it. It's like, being a staff nurse in California pays way better than doing a travel assignment in California. So there are 3 different types of travel nursing. Like I said, the traditional one being you are going from one destination to another. The second type of travel nursing that we're going to be touching on is doing local travel contracts, so where you're staying within your state or even within your same city and doing local travel contracts. And then the third one is going to be per diem travel nursing, where you can go still within your same city or your same state, or even go out of state to do per diem travel nursing. And that one is kind of where I'm focusing on right now, and then I'll give you guys a bonus at the end. But if that sounds interesting to you, or if that sounds like something that you need to know, especially going further down into the year, make sure you watch the entirety of this video. Let's dive deeper into traditional travel contracts. Now, if you've never ever taken a travel contract and you are going to be stepping into the travel nursing world as a newbie, as a novice, this is where you are going from one state to the other, from one city to the other. But typically a traditional travel contract is where you are leaving your home state and going to another state to work as a nurse. This is where leaving your state is where you get your stipend, because now you have dual expenses. So you have expenses at home and you have expenses that you'll be taking on the road. So that is the gist of a traditional travel contract. That's what a lot of people have been doing for years. And prior to 2020, before that whole wave of COVID and all that type of stuff started happening, the average rate on a weekly basis was anywhere from 15 to 18. Sometimes you'll see the higher end of 2,000 per week on a travel contract. Now, prior to 2020, I never did travel nursing, but I have friends, I know people that have been doing this decades before travel nursing was even the hype. So that's truly the gist of a traditional travel contract. You leave your home state, you go to another state, you take on dual expenses. Typically you're getting 18 to 2,000 a week prior to COVID. After COVID, that's when we saw those rates surge and we was living our best life and getting to the bag. And now you're thinking in 2024, all of that money is gone. Can I truly still make money as a travel nurse? And the answer is yes, you can. You just have to be super diligent and intentional about where and the type of contracts that you take. And a lot of factors play into how you are compensated on travel contracts. It's the type of position that you are in, your state that you're traveling to, your level of education. Some hospitals pay more if you have a bachelor's, but a lot of different factors play into how you are compensated. But the top two is the state that you are working in as a travel nurse, and then number two is your specialty. Cath lab, OR, L&D, and pediatrics, those are the top four specialties that's getting to the bag as we speak. Like right now, spring of 2024, those are the specialties that I'm seeing getting compensated the most on a weekly basis. My main specialty is ED, and I can tell you firsthand, those ED contracts are not hitting for what it will be hitting for come fall going into winter, because that's when the ED start getting flooded with the flu, RSV, like all sorts of things. So each specialty has its season, and if you truly want to make the best out of your specialty, you need to know your specialty seasons and travel within those seasons, because obviously you're going to be getting compensated more. You just have to study the market, study your specialty, and know when is your time and travel within your time. That's really my rant on traditional travel nursing. You're gonna get paid the highest based on your state and your specialty, so always keep those in mind when you are looking for traditional travel contracts. Let's move on to local travel contracts, which is what I just got done doing. Local travel contracts is when you take a contract within your same state or even within your same city. The contract that I just got done with was literally 30 to 40 minutes from my house, and it's at a hospital that I actually started my nursing career at. So whenever I'm home, I do 3 months with that hospital, and it's an internal travel contract. Most local contracts are gonna be internal. That's where the hospital system hires you. So you're not working with the agency, you're not working with any third party person, you're going directly to the hospital. And sometimes those pay a lot more versus going through the agency, especially being that you're local. Like, you're not gonna get a stipend because you're not taking on two expenses. So it doesn't even make sense, in my opinion, to go with an agency in order to get a local contract. Just look up your hospital and go on their career section and look up to see if they have any internal, or sometimes it'll be labeled as seasonal contract or seasonal RN or whatever. It just depends on the city that you're in. I know Atlanta do it, Florida do it. If you're in Broward or even in Southwest Florida, pretty much all of the hospitals that I know of, all of the systems, they have internal travel contracts. Same with Atlanta, Grady have internal, Piedmont have internal, Emory have internal, like most of them do. Other states I'm not so familiar, but Florida and Georgia are the states that I've actually worked the most in, and New Jersey. New Jersey, no. I haven't seen a lot of internal travel contracts in New Jersey. You're typically going through a third-party agency like I or Medical Solution or one of those agencies to get a contract up north, like New York, New Jersey. That's pretty much what a local contract is. You're staying within your own state, you're staying within your own city, and you're working internally with those hospital systems. And everything is gonna vary based on your state and your specialty. So keep those two things in mind. So somebody in California might be making $111 an hour versus somebody like me in Florida, where I'm only making what, $65 to $70 an hour for an internal contract. So those are the things you want to keep in mind. I like local contracts where if you want to, be home for a little bit, you can still be home, spend time with your family, and be working at the same time. Again, it's not always going to be as much as it would be if you are traveling, but also you won't have that dual expense as if you were traveling. So that's the nice, cushy thing about local travel contracts. Moving on to number 3, which is per diem travel contracts. I've recently started doing this, where I'm actually going to another state to do per diem stuff. I started it last year and I put on a couple of my friends to it, which they're actually still doing it now. One of my friends, she's in California right now. She's on a contract, but she's also doing per diem stuff. And then one of my friends, I don't even know where she's at right now. She goes pretty much everywhere. I know last time she was in Washington doing some per diem travel stuff. I'm about to head out towards the end of the month to do some per diem stuff. So the gist of PRN or per diem travel nursing is where you take a PRN job, whether it's with the hospital, it's with a staffing agency. You can work through apps to do per diem stuff, but really and truly is where you are a PRN worker for that agency or that facility. The thing with this is that depending on the hospital, depending on the agency that you work for, these shifts are not guaranteed. That's the downside. So if you are traveling out of state to go work per diem shifts, you might fly to California. I know a lot of nurses do this, especially the ones that live down south. I met some nurses in Georgia that did this. They have a PRN job in California. They'll fly to California, work their shifts, make their money for the month, and then fly back home. The downside with this, like I said before, is that you don't know if your shift is going to be canceled. So you can book that ticket, rent the car, pay for the hotel, and fly out to California, and then your shifts get canceled. So now you're scattering, trying to find different shifts to pick up so that your trip don't go to waste, and you're not acquiring all these expenses with no income. So that's like one of the downside about per diem shifts, and I've actually run into that myself. The last time I went to Oregon, I was working through the app. I was working through this app that I'm signed up with, and they pay pretty decent through the app, but you don't know if your shift will get canceled. For me, my shift didn't get canceled. I just went to a facility and I didn't feel safe. I didn't want to go back to the facility because I didn't feel safe working there with my license, and my license is very important. That's my bread and butter. I'm not gonna risk that for nothing or nobody. So I canceled my shift on the app, and because I had too many cancellations within a short period of time, my account was frozen. So even though I was towards the end of my days, I was towards the end of my stretch on that particular week that I flew out there, so I didn't really lose much because it was only one shift that I ended up not working. So my numbers, the math was still mathing for me. So I was like, okay, it's whatever. But that's really the downside towards doing per diem travel nursing. You don't know if your shift will be canceled. You don't know if you're doing it through like an app or agency, if they send you to an agency that you've never been to before. You don't know if you're not gonna like that agency, or you don't know if you're not gonna feel safe in that agency. That's the gist of PRN travel nursing. You're leaving from one state or one city to the other to pick up shift where you are an extra. So if one of their staff says, okay, I'm gonna come in, you may get canceled, and then you're stuck looking crazy. The one thing that I advise people if they're gonna do PRN travel nursing is to be on multiple people's roster in the state or city that you're going to. The one thing you do not want to do is book a flight, rent a car, rent a hotel or Airbnb, saying that, okay, I'm gonna spend 6 to 7 days working back to back, and then you have your shift scheduled before going out there, and then you get there and your shifts get canceled. Now you're in the red. Like, that's never good. So have multiple options in terms of work. So be signed up with at least 2 to 3 different apps. I know Medley is one, Carev is one. I can't think off the top of my head, but those are like the top 2 ones. But because those are the top 2 ones, everybody and their mother is on there looking for shifts. So the moment one get posted, 1,000 people is reaching for that job. So that's where the scarcity of, it's a lot of nurses, it's a lot of travel nurses. So the supply of nurses is there, but the demand for work isn't necessarily there, or the supply of job isn't there, but the demand of nurses is there. Whichever way that goes, you get what I'm trying to say. So make sure you have backup plan for the backup plan for the backup plan because you do not want to be caught in the red. So just keep that in mind if you do decide to try PRN travel nursing. And honestly, I like it. because I get to create my own schedule, especially now that I'm a mom and my son is in that developmental stage. I don't really want to miss his milestones. So being that I get to create my own schedule and I get to choose when I work and I get to choose how much I work for, I'm really loving that right now. So that's one of the brighter sides of PRN travel nursing, is that you get to do what you want to do and still get to the bag. Alright, now that we covered the main three again, which is the traditional travel nursing, local travel nursing, and per diem travel nursing, one that I discovered last year and I made, ouch, I got to the bag with this last year, was strike nursing. I know, not everybody agrees with it. Honestly, I don't care. But for those who want to know, strike nursing is another option. Now, this is one of the more trickier ones. It's one of the more tedious ones because it's not like a regular, nothing about it is orthodox. It's very much unorthodox. Strike nursing is when a hospital system, or when the nurses within a hospital system decides that, you know what, I can't take this anymore. The staffing is unsafe, the patient ratio is unsafe, there's no resources, like we just had it up to here. We talked to their union and them and their union decide, okay, you know what, we don't like what's going on, we're gonna strike. They give the hospital a 10-day notice, and once the hospital receives that even before the 10-day notice goes out, the hospital reach out to their suppliers. It sounds like crack, like we're dealing crack, but the hospital reach out to their suppliers and let them know, like, hey, our nurses might be going on strike, so we're gonna need you guys to supply us with nurses for this duration of time that our nurses are gonna be on strike. The biggest one that I've been a part of happened last year in New Jersey. It went on for, I want to say, 4 to 5 months. That's pretty much the gist of strike nursing. No, when it comes on to actually being a part of the group of nurses that actually get to be on the strike, that's where the tediousness of it comes in, because you can apply to be a replacement nurse, but that doesn't mean that you're gonna get the opportunity to be a replacement nurse. And I kind of got my feelings hurt this time around. So in California was striking, I applied, and typically when I apply I get an offer, but I didn't get an offer for whatever reason that I eventually figured out what had happened. But that's the tediousness around it. Like you'll apply, and once you apply, you have a 50-50, I want to see a 50-50 chance of getting an offer. So now you have to make arrangements for your household, arrangements for yourself to say, okay, I'm going to be in this specific location from this time to this time. Now you can make, like I said, you can plan, you can put things in place, but one of two things can either happen. Either you don't get an offer for the position, so now you've wasted time planning, or you can get an offer, and which this has happened too. You can get an offer, and then a day or two before the strike actually happens, the hospital and the nurses come to an agreement. So now the strike has been ratified. Or you can actually fly to the location, and the night before the strike, you find out that they've actually settled the strike and came to an agreement. So that's the not so fun part about it, is that you just never know what's gonna happen. It's always great. Yeah, it's always great when the strike actually goes through. I was gonna say not really so great, but it's always great when the strike goes through, because this shows that the nurses have a 50-50 chance of getting what they are demanding from the facility, and also you're gonna get paid. Now, when it comes to compensation, strike nurses or replacement nurses get paid significantly more than you would on a traditional or even a local travel contract, because one, you are sacrificing your time, you're sacrificing your safety. Hold on, I gotta drink some water. But yeah, you're sacrificing your time and your safety and the unknown. Like, you really never know what's gonna happen. But the moment that strike actually starts, then you know, all right, my money is secured. I just gotta go in, keep my patient safe, keep myself safe, and we good. The beautiful thing about strike nursing is that your housing, your flight, your transportation is all taken care of by the company that you are working with. As a nurse that have done traditional travel contracts where I've had to come out of pocket for everything, housing, transportation, going on strike contracts and knowing that I don't have to worry about any of that, all I have to do is pack my bags and show up. It's such a great feeling. It's such a good feeling. And I know a lot of people have mixed feelings about this. Again, I don't care about the politics of it. I know why I'm doing it. At the end of the day, the patients are getting the same care that they would, sometimes if not better, because now they have more nurses to care for the patients. And the great thing about being on a strike contract is that there's so much nurses there that we're on a regular basis of the hospital being a 1-to-6 ratio. During a strike, it's typically a 1-to-2 or a 1-to-3 or 1-to-4 ratio, depending on the specialty. But you now have more nurses to care for the patients, so the patients are getting I don't want to say better care, but they're getting more attention, if that makes sense. So that's really the beautiful things about strike nursing. And the 9 times out of 10, the nurses, I don't want to get into it. If y'all want me to go more into detail about strike nursing, I've done about, I want to say 4 strikes so far. Would have been 5, but one of them got canceled or rectified, or the nurses came to an agreement. It's a nice way to, you know, make some decent money. But yeah guys, that is the gist of it. If you have made it to the end of this video, thank you so much for watching. Hopefully you learned something valuable. If you have any questions, please feel free to leave them in the comment section below. Or if you have any video ideas that you want me to do, anything else that you want me to go more in depth on, leave them in the comment section and I will get rolling on that. If you are not tapped in with me on the socials, make sure you follow me at Anatha Valley on Instagram and at Anatha Valley on TikTok. Those are the 2 main places that I usually ducked off. If you haven't started to subscribe to the channel, you know, if you feel like your girl gave you some value, gave you the tea, make sure you hit that subscribe button and give the video a thumbs up so YouTube know that y'all like this type of content and I can keep making more. On that note, thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Later.